Hello kids! Welcome sa ating Sunday School! Noong nagdaang linggo, pinag-aralan natin ang pagtatapos sa missionary journey ni Paul. Ngayon naman, tayo muna ay manalangin. Panginoon Diyos, marami pong salamat sa mga nagdaang lesson na aming napag-aralan. Nawa Lord, maging good example po si Paul sa aming buhay habang kami ay mga bata pa. Tulungan niyo po kami Lord na maging kagaya namin siya na maihatid namin ang inyong salita sa aming pamilya at sa ibang tao. Ito po ang aming dalangin sa pangalan ni Jesus. Amen. I've got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart. I've got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. And I'm so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. And I'm so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. I've got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart. I've got a peace that passes understanding down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. And I'm so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. And I'm so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart. I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. And I'm so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. And I'm so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. On a specified time of the month, the first Sunday of each month, believers observe the Lord's Supper. It is usually part of the evening service. A church may observe the Lord's Supper at the end of the service, and it the entire service itself. Two elements are served in the Lord's Supper. One element is bread or a small wafer. Many churches use some form of unleavened bread without yeast, since this is what was used in the New Testament times, and the other element is a cup of juice. Many people do not understand the purpose or meaning of the Lord's Supper. They don't know what they are to think about during the service. This was the case with the Corinthians. Paul wrote to the Corinthian church about the Lord's Supper because he had learned the people did not understand the importance of its service. In fact, they were bringing shame on the Lord's name and disgrace on the testimony of the church. Because Jesus ate the Passover meal with his disciples before he instituted the Lord's Supper, the early church continued in that way. The church members ate a meal together before the communion service. Each believer or family of believers brought his own food. This was not a bad idea, except that some people ate before fellow believers arrived, so did not share the meal. Some people ate in front of the poor and the slaves who had no food to bring to the dinner. Other people arrived in a drunken condition. These attitudes disrupted the unity of the church. The Lord's Supper was being treated more like a dinner party than a service in which believers were to remember the Lord Jesus and the purpose of his death and his second coming. Paul was upset with the Corinthians' actions. He said,
They had houses in which to eat and party. They were to take the Lord's Supper seriously. Paul explained to the Corinthians how to properly observe the Lord's Supper. We are not just to remember that Jesus died, but we are to remember why he died and what that death means to every believer. When Jesus died on the cross, his body was hurt. This is the broken bread stands for this, and his blood was shed. This is the juice in the cup stands for this. He took this punishment for sin so we don't have to. While Jesus is gone from the earth, we are to remember this through the memorial service of communion until he returns from heaven for us. The Corinthian Christians were not treating this service with the seriousness that they should have. The Corinthian Christians were coming to the Lord's Supper with unconfessed sin in their lives. Some people were sinning even while at church. Because of this, Paul said they were eating the bread and drinking the cup unworthily. In other words, through their careless, sinful attitudes that they made themselves unworthy to come before the Lord.
Kaya mga bata, mahalaga ang Lord's Supper sa ating simbahan. Ginagawa ito kapag ikaw ay membro na ng isang simbahan. Katulad na lamang ng pagturo ni Paul sa mga Corinthian kung paano ito gawin. Hanggang dito na lang muna mga bata ang ating pag-aaralan. Itutuloy natin ito sa susunod na linggo. Tayo ay manalangin. Panginoon Diyos, marami pong salamat sa naging lesson po namin sa araw na ito. Kayo po ang tumulong sa amin na maging halimbawa po si Paul sa aming buhay. Magawa po namin ito gaya ng mga nagagawa po niya para sa inyo. Marami pong salamat sa lahat. Sa pangalan ni Jesus. Amen. Para naman sa ating memory verse, ito ang ating memory verse sa linggong ito.
1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 26. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do show the Lord's death till he come.
Hanggang sa ating muling pagkikita mga bata, magkita-kita tayo sa susunod na linggo. Paalam!